Hey everyone, Dude here back with another Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel video, and today we're taking a look at the best spell cards that you can craft and add to your deck in Master Duel. So, we're back with the 65 card main deck here. So, if you missed the last video, we talked about monster staples and hand traps there. But for this video, we're gonna take a look at the best spell cards that you can have in Master Duel. So, this includes board breakers, pot cards, um extra nifty tech of broken fusion spell and anti-hand trap tech. There's so many here that just allows your deck to pop off, and these are the best spell cards that you can have, and you can pretty much splash these in most decks. And but yeah, I'll explain which decks can best use these cards. But without further ado, let's get started. So we can start with an old classic, which is Dark Hole. So Dark Hole is an SR spell that reads destroy all monsters on the field. This is a very basic board breaker. It's not once per turn. Having two of these means that you can have one negated just to activate the other one. So that's pretty crazy. Um, Board breakers are really solid in Master Rule for going second decks, and there are a lot of really strong going second decks, and a lot of them would want to wipe out the monsters on the field. And Dark Hole is pretty reliable. It's a very great budget option, so especially at SR, because a lot of the really good board breaking spells are UR. So this is your closest bet, and sometimes nothing beats a classic spell. So that's Dark Hole. Next up is another classic spell. So Raigeki. Raigeki is at 2 in Master Duel. And Raigeki is basically Dark Hole, but without the cost of losing your own monsters on your side of the field. So Raigeki destroys all monsters your opponent controls. Another not once per turn spell. You can activate the 2 copies of Raigeki you have on your deck just to blast the board if you need to. This is a UR, but yeah, this is really powerful. It's a really straight to the point card. In most metas with big boards, this can really annihilate a lot of decks. So yeah, really powerful. If you want extra board breaking power for OTK decks, or just to clear the board and prevent your opponent from recovering, yeah, Raigeki is always a reliable classic Yu-Gi-Oh spell. Next up, we have Harpie's Feather Duster. So at the one-off, so this is a spell that destroys all spells and traps your opponent controls. Very straightforward. A lot of decks in Master Duel, in especially in best of one format here, run a lot of really powerful spell cards and trap cards, especially Floodgates, and Harpie's Feather Duster deals with a lot of those. Apart from Floodgates, also obnoxious field spells. So yeah, Harpie's Feather Duster is the old reliable spell and trap removal. It's great to have as a one-off, whether you're a going second deck or even a going first deck. Mid-game, this is really great. Early game, of course, this is great. This can help you outright win games in simplified states. So nothing beats the old Harpie's Feather Duster sweep. And next up, we're gonna go with Monster Reborn. So Monster Reborn is target one monster in either graveyard and special summon it. So classic revive spell. This is great as an extender for the most part, or if you're playing for recovery, you can use Monster Reborn to bring back your main monsters or bring back a combo starter, and that will allow you to just keep your board going, rebuild, and um, reclaim your reclaim your game and just outgrind the opponent. So Monster Reward is a free monster extender. So if you ever need or have space for free monster revive, or your deck greatly benefits from having a monster revive, Monster Reborn is the best option right here. Next up, we have Change of Heart. So Change of Heart is a classic spell where you target one monster opponent controls and take control of it until the end phase. This is not once per turn, so you can use both Change of Heart to steal 2 monsters from your opponent's field. The main drawback here is that it's targeting, so there are a lot of big boss monsters that don't target, but in a lot of boards in Master Duel, um, decks like Sprite, Branded, and Tyrannus, you can benefit off of Change of Heart because you're not triggering their destruction effects. You're pretty much stealing them and giving yourself a really powerful monster to take on and turn the tables on your opponent. So Change of Heart is really great if you have space for it. Next up, Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is send one monster from your deck to the graveyard. This is your best graveyard enabler. This allows you to send monsters that have really powerful graveyard effects. Decks like Tyrgaments use this to send Tyrgaments monsters. They use this to send stuff like Fairytale Snow. You can use this to send like a Jet Synchron or anything that has a powerful graveyard effect that allows your deck to extend or start their combo off. This is a really powerful card. Next we have Reinforcement of the Army. This is a free card that you can get early on in solo mode, if I recall correctly. So this is a pretty simple card. Add one level 4 or lower monster from your deck to hand. This has been limited for a long time because it's one of the most powerful search spells. There are a lot of really great level 4 warrior monsters, so Reinforcement of the Army is really usable in a lot of decks. It's usable in decks like Tyrgament, which has Rhino Heart, Sky Striker, which Ray and Rose are warriors, and so much more. There's just this has a lot of utility. I guess hero decks, of course, love Reinforcement of the Army. They have so many warrior monsters to summon, so this is a no-brainer to add in deck. But yeah, if you have a really powerful warrior deck, it's always nice to have Reinforcement of the Army on your opening hand. Next up, we have the first draw spell here. So, Card of Demise. So, Card of Demise is draw until you have 3 cards in your hand, and for the rest of your turn, your opponent takes no damage. And you cannot special summon after activating this card. And during the end phase, if you don't have, if you still have cards in your hand, you have to send your entire hand to the graveyard. So, Card of Demise is a pretty niche draw spell that allows you to instantly draw a max of 3, which is kind of insane, but kind of locks you out of summoning and dealing the killing blow to your opponent. But a lot of decks that run this, like True Draco, Fluanderies, possibly even Runic, they kind of don't care about the graveyard condition. They're pretty much fine with it. Runic kind of loves having some of their spells in the graveyard, so this is great to have. It's a really powerful draw spell. If your deck can handle having a Card of Demise, this is really powerful. Next up, we have Gold Sarcophagus. Gold Sarcophagus is like Foolish Burial, but for banishing. So, Gold Sarcophagus allows you to banish 1 card from your deck face up and return that to the hand during the second standby phase. The second sentence here doesn't really matter because what matters here is you get to banish a card face up for free. And decks like Fluanderies love having a banished card, which allows them to chain block their normal summons, for example. Thunder Dragon loves this because if you banish a Thunder Dragon Dark, you can basically set up a 1-card combo into Colossus. So Gold Sarcophagus is really neat for that. If your deck loves to banish or needs to banish a card, Gold Sarcophagus is your best bet to have in a deck. And it's really, really powerful. Next up, we have the first pot card here, which is Pot of Duality. Pot of Duality allows you to excavate the top 3 cards of your deck and add 1 of them to your hand. And shuffle back to the deck, and you cannot special summon the turn you activate this card. Decks like Fluanderies, True Draco, Dynamorphia even benefit from this card because you can just pretty much add 1 for free, excavate, and the special summoning lock doesn't matter for decks like True Draco and Fluanderies because they don't really special summon, they just tribute. And decks like Dynamorphia don't care about special summoning on their turn, they prefer to special summon the opponent's turn. So Pot of Duality is powerful. There's a reason it's at 2, so yeah, it's really nifty, and you would want to have this on your deck if you can. If you don't really care about the special summoning condition. Next up, we have Pot of Desire. So Pot of Desires is a classic high-risk, high-reward draw spell where you banish the top 10 cards of your deck face down and then you draw 2 cards. So decks that run a lot of copies of monsters in their deck, like Sword Soul, Salamangreat, even Sky Striker, they really benefit off of a Pot of Desires because drawing 2 allows them to pretty much set up their full combo and win them the game despite cutting like 1/4 of their deck. It doesn't matter because if the 2 cards they draw just are the most powerful cards they have in their deck, they can pretty much auto win despite the banish. So yeah, Pot of Desires is at 3. If your deck can handle, if your deck has multiple copies or multiple hand traps, so yeah, this is a really good draw spell to have. The draw 2 is too powerful to resist. Foolish Burial Goods is a very simple card. It's like Foolish Burial, except you send 1 spell trap card from deck to graveyard. This has been recently limited mainly because of Teargaments, which has spells and traps that trigger effects that have graveyard effects, so that's really good. So if your deck needs to have a spell or trap card that needs to be in the graveyard, Foolish Burial Goods is a free send, and it's a once per turn, thankfully. But yeah, being at 1, it's been severely hit. But it's still really powerful when you draw it because it for decks like Teargaments, it's a free monster. For Branded, it allows you to extend even more. So decks that can handle Foolish Burial Goods are really powerful. Next up, we have That Grass Looks Greener. So if you have a 60 card pile and your opponent is on 40, you can send cards from top of your deck to the graveyard. And send as much until you have the same number of cards in the deck as your opponent. This is the best mill card in the game because you can instantly mill 20 or 10 or 15. This allows you to just get a lot of graveyard cards in the graveyard. Really powerful graveyard advantage deck. Pile decks, Branded Teargament piles, maybe Danger Chaos piles benefit from this card and just allows you to generate the craziest advantage a deck can have if you can run this. And even though it's semi-limited, it's still an essential card in pile decks because you just want a lot of cards in the graveyard just to get your combo going or allow you to extend/recover depending on what you want to do. Okay. Next up, we have Pot of Extravagance. So Pot of Extravagance is a draw 2, but you have to banish 3 or 6 random face-down cards from your extra deck. So you can draw 1 if you banish 3, draw 2 if you banish 6. So this is a bit of a bigger gamble for your extra deck because it's random. So if you have multiple copies of your extra deck monsters or you don't care too much about your extra deck, you can run this and get the free draw 2, pretty much a Pot of Greed every time. And the only lock here is for the rest of the turn you cannot draw any cards by card effects. So that kind of locks you, but it doesn't matter because usually you're resolving this and you're gonna get a lot of advantage after. Next up, we have Dark Ruler No More. So Dark Ruler No More is a powerful board breaker that negates the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent controls. So Master Duel has a lot of negate boards like Branded, like Sprite pretty much, and powerful boards like Teargament, which have a lot of interaction with using their monster cards. So Dark Ruler no More prevents them from activating, and they can't respond to this card unless they have a counter trap. So really powerful board breaker. The only drawback here is you can't deal damage, but if you can just erase their board after Dark Ruler No More, they can have a hard time recovering. So this is a great going second card. Speaking of great going second cards, you have Lightning Storm. Lightning Storm is basically if you control no face-up cards, you can activate one of these effects. And the first effect is destroy all attack position monsters opponent controls. Pretty much a Raigeki. The second effect is pretty much a Harpie's Feather Duster, where you destroy all spells and traps your opponent controls. Really nasty board breaker. Really simple, and if you're a going second deck, having two or three of these is an essential to keep the game keep the game state in control to allow you to win. Next up, we have Triple Tactics Talent. So Triple Tactics Talent, if your opponent activates a monster effect during your main phase, you can activate one of the three powerful effects. You can draw two, pretty much Pot of Greed. You can take control one monster opponent controls, which is Change of Heart, and you can take a look at your opponent's hand and choose one card to shuffle back to the deck, which is, I think, Confiscation. So Triple Tactics Talent is a really powerful card, especially right now where hand traps are constantly activated, or opponent's monsters have a lot of powerful main phase effects. So this allows you to use this as a way to extend and draw more cards to help you break boards. You can use this to steal a monster, and you can use this to break your opponent's combo going first by shuffling back a card in their hand. So if you have space for this, this is really great. Next up, Pot of Prosperity. So Pot of Prosperity can banish 3 or 6 cards from your extra deck face down. You have to choose that, and then you can excavate as many cards as you banished and then add 1. And then you can't draw cards after that, and then the damage that your opponent takes would be half, but it doesn't matter because Pot of Prosperity is arguably the best pot card in the game that's legal and not named Pot of Greed. So Pot of Prosperity allows you to pretty much search your deck. So Excavate 6 means that you can get almost any card in your deck, high chances of getting any powerful card in your deck, and just generates the craziest amount of advantage and can allow you to win games outright, or just give you that one combo piece that allows you to finish off your opponent or pretty much set up your board completely. So Pot of Prosperity is very, very powerful, and that's why it's at 1. Decks that have multiple copies on their extra deck, or decks that can afford to just lose some of their extra deck names, can just use Pot of Prosperity to generate the craziest advantage. So next up is another search spell, which is Small World. So Small World, reveal one monster in your hand. Choose one monster from your deck that has exactly one of the same type, attribute, level, attack, or defense, and banish the revealed monster from your hand. And then add from deck to hand the monster that matches the 2 categories from the 2 monsters you revealed, and then banish the other one face down. So basically, this allows you to search for any monster in your deck just as long as you have 2 cards that bridge them together. So this is a card that's difficult to use, but once you find out the right combination of cards to find the right cards you need, you can search for almost any monster in the game. You can search a kaiju going second. You can search a hand trap. You can even search a combo piece. Decks like Matmech use this a lot because they have a lot of ways to bridge into their combo pieces. Decks like Salamangreat can use this to search a hand trap, another Salamangreat, or a kaiju. So Small World is really great. A really powerful card. It's one of the more complex Yu-Gi-Oh cards to use, but it's really powerful. And you should have this on your deck if you have the space, or if you have enough ways to bridge into your main combo pieces. Next up, we have our first floodgate here. So Dimensional Fissure, very simple. Any monster sent to the graveyard is banished instead. This is an anti-graveyard card that allows you to just shut down your opponent's graveyard plays like Teargaments and Branded and Sprite. So yeah, this is a nasty floodgate, and it's simple, but it prevents your opponent from doing too much, and prevents them from sometimes sending hand traps from hand to graveyard, because it negates that function. So yeah, Dimensional Fissure, if you run a banish deck, if you run a floodgate deck, this is really good. And that rare, really cheap. Next up, we have an old classic here with Mystical Space Typhoon. So Mystical Space Typhoon allows you to target one spell trap on the field and destroy that target. So not once per turn. Very simple, quick effect. And it's still, this is an old card, but still great. It's still a good budget option because you can hit floodgates using this. You can respond to stuff like anti-spell, skill drain, and the like, and still get a win off of it, and still get a card pop. And if you can't afford the SR cards, SR board breakers, Mystical Space Typhoon can help you last for a while longer if you really need a spell and trap removal really in your deck. So let's go. Next up, we have Book of Moon. Book of Moon targets one face-up monster in the field and changes that target to face-down defense position. A lot of decks, like Sprite, need to have their monsters face-up to extend or start their Xyz play. So Book of Moon kind of removes that option. This is great against Link and Xyz strategies. Can be niche against fusion strategies, but they can use face down monsters as material, so it's not as useful there. But Book of Moon is really great. It can also help you dodge effects of like Infinite Impermanence and Effect Vader, which targets face up cards. So you can just put this face down and let your effect resolve. So really handy, really versatile budget tech that a lot of decks can use. Most decks that use this, Floanderies is included, so really powerful. Next up, we have arguably the most powerful board breaker in the Tirgament branded format, and that is Super Polymerization. So Super Polymerization is discard one card and fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from either field as fusion materials. And the kicker is neither player can activate cards or effects in response to this card's activation. So when you activate this, no one will stop you from making fusion material out of your opponent's monsters. So Super Polymerization needs the proper fusion targets, but once you have those proper fusion targets, Super Polymerization just becomes the craziest board-breaking card in the game. And with Branded and Tirgaments really popular right now, Super Polymerization is just great to have, just to shut down your opponent's boards and prevent them from playing at all. So next we have Book of Eclipse. So Book of Eclipse is pretty good in the future in the next formats, but if you have this early, you can use this because Book of Eclipse basically puts all of your opponent's monsters, or changes all face-up monsters on the field to face down defense position. And during the end phase, you can change as many face down position monsters opponent controls, and then your opponent will draw cards equal to that number of monsters change faced up by that effect. But for the most part, Book of Eclipse prevents face-up monster effects from activating because you're putting them face down, so they can really be shut down. So you can really just break your opponent and wreck them and destroy their board easily. You might not be able to OTK them, but this prevents them from using their board and just completely breaks their advantage. So if you have, this is great in the near future when decks like Cash Terror come out. So this can really just destroy their day. Next up, we have Twin Twisters. So Twin Twisters is basically Mystical Space Typhoon on steroids. So discard one card, then target up to 2 speller traps on the field, then destroy them. So this is great. This is a great going second board breaker. This allows you to discard, and sometimes sending a card to the graveyard is what you want to have. So this is a double-edged sword, really powerful. And this allows you to just have a bit more flexibility. You can target 1 or 2. So depending on the board state, you can use this to destroy multiple floodgates or just shut down your opponent's set spells and traps early on. Next up, we have Cosmic Cyclone. So Cosmic Cyclone, pay 1,000 and target 1 spell or trap card on the field and banish it. This is more powerful than Mystical Space Typhoon because there are some spells and traps that have protection, or some monsters to protect them from destruction. So you wanna use Cosmic Cyclone to banish them instead of destroying them and bypass that destruction protection. This is pretty much the straight up mystical space Typhoon upgrade. So if you have space for this, and for if you're facing a lot of runic, this is really great. Or if you're facing like Tirgaments, you can banish their spells and traps, and they'll kind of hate it. Even Branded and Sprite kind of hate those. So this is really powerful. Next up, we have Called by the Grave. So Called by the Grave is a really powerful spell where you target one monster in opponent's graveyard and banishes it. And once you banish it, the banished target has their effects negated until the end of next turn. So pretty much 2 turns. So Called by the Grave is usually used to counter hand traps like Maxi and Ash Blossom. But it can also shut down cards that are sent to the graveyard, and you know that has to be sent to the graveyard. So you can banish them and their effects are gone for 2 turns, so they can't really use them. This is great for anti-recovery. This is Called by the Grave is the best against hand traps because you can just prevent your opponent from disrupting you and just keep your combo rolling, or allow you to search cards, or allow you to draw from stuff like Maxi. So Called by the Grave is one of the best spell cards out there, and at 2, this allows you to just shut down a lot of hand traps. You can see this more often. Next up, we have Crossout Designator. So Crossout Designator is a card that allows you to declare one card name and banish one of that. And once it's banished, the effects of that card until the end of the turn is negated. So this is another hand trap killing card. So example, if your opponent activates Maxi, you use Crossout Designator to banish one of your own Maxi, and that Maxi for the rest of the turn will be negated. So this is great for mirror matches. This is also very good for hand traps. And if you need to have something banished, you can also use Crossout Designator in niche situations, so that keep that in mind. So Crossout Designator is an anti-hand trap that's really powerful. Lastly, we have Forbidden Droplet. So Forbidden Droplet is send any number of cards from your hand, field, or graveyard, choose that many effect monsters your opponent controls, and until the end of the turn, half their attack and negate their effects. So your opponent cannot respond as long as you send a card of a certain type, so they can't respond with a monster negate if you send a monster. They cannot respond with a spell if you send a spell, and they cannot respond with a trap card if you send a trap card. So this is a great going second if you're into OTKing, because this lowers the attack of monsters, and unlike Dark Ruler, this allows you to deal damage during the same turn. So really powerful, and this is in the bundle, so you can get at least one for free along with the Lightning Storm. So really, really nasty, powerful card. And I guess that's it for our 65 best spell cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. And I hope you like this video. If you have more spell card recommendations, leave a comment below and share those. If you like this video, leave a like. If you enjoyed, if you want more Master Duel content, you can subscribe to the channel. That would help the channel grow. And as always, thank you for watching and supporting the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. So goodbye, guys.